Hi friends, welcome to Cindy's Corner. Today we're going to be making salad, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to pre-prep for our salad. It's early in my day, it's on the weekend. I want to be able to have salad for multiple days through the coming week, and I don't want the salad to go bad. So what I'm going to do is pre-chop my veggies and make my dressing. And I'm going to put those two things together in a container, and I'm not going to add any lettuce or tender greens to it until I actually have the salad. So you'll see how this works as we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have a 4-cup container here, and I'm going to make my dressing in the bottom of this. So I'll show you how I make my dressing. This is a simple vinaigrette, but this is how I always do it. So I take whatever container here, and I'm going to take my oil, and I'm using a grapeseed oil. I find this to be a very neutral oil, and I'm really liking using this right now. So I'm just going to pour my oil so that it fills the bottom of this container. So it just covers the floor, basically. Okay, now there's not going to be any measuring here. We're just going to do this to eye and taste. Okay, next thing, I'm going to put this is red wine vinegar, and let me get like a big spoon here. So I'm going to start with like 3 tablespoons, and this will probably be adjusted as time goes by. So all of this, you start with a base, and then you work on it from there. Okay, now also in a classic vinaigrette we have some Dijon mustard. So just a squirt. So maybe that's like a half a teaspoon up to a teaspoon, depending on how much you like it. Come on, baby. There we go. Okay. Now, another thing I have been doing lately that has really improved the taste of my dressings is I'm adding honey to my dressings. So I add a squirt, probably a half a teaspoon. And of course, salt and pepper. So I got my pepper grinder here. Okay, so I just did like 6 of that. A lot of times I'll do twice as much pepper as salt. A lot of times these grinders, okay, you see this is a very big kind of flake salt. They come out like heavy on the salt compared to the pepper. So I'm gonna do like 3. And you will adjust the taste of that later. Okay, so those are my ingredients for my dressing. Now I'm just gonna take a fork. We're gonna keep it real simple. And now I'm just gonna whisk. Now I tip my container to the side so everything gets into like a corner, and that way I don't splash all over the place. So you're just looking to emulsify this. Okay, that's actually good. It could use some more salt. A little more salt. Now remember, when you're seasoning this, you're going to be putting a lot of veggies into this, and they're all a little bland. They all need a little seasoning. So you want to make sure that you have a good amount of salt. So at this stage of the game, it may taste slightly salty. Yeah, that's good. Okay. All right, so this is what we got so far. So we got a 4-cup container. We got a good amount of dressing on the bottom. And this is my concept. Let me move this away. Okay, so I put the dressing on the bottom. I'm going to mix my salad ingredients into this and kind of let it marinate, basically. Okay, so I'm starting with the parsley here. Well, actually, I'm not going to put it in the dressing yet, but I just want to show you how I deal with the parsley. When I bring it home from the store, I put it in a glass with about 1 inch of water. And also what I did is I chopped the bottom of the stems so that I had a fresh cut so they can drink up the water, okay? Then I have the plastic bag that I brought it home in, and I cover it up loosely. Now, when I took this out of the fridge today, I noticed that there was a lot of water in one side of it, so that's condensation. So now when I put it back in the fridge, I'm going to turn it inside out. So the part that's dry is going to go over top of this. Okay, like that. And that would be very loose, but I did want to show you, all I do with this is I pull out a leaf and I'll cut with my kitchen shears pieces off, and that's what I'm going to chop. So I just keep this bouquet of parsley just like this and work with it like that. Now if I feel like there's possibly, later I'll show you, if I feel like there's going to be more condensations, I'm going to take a paper towel and gently put that over top. I'm going to get my plastic bag and loosely, I don't want things to get squished, okay? Put that over top, and I'll kind of pinch this together at the bottom. And I'm going to put this back in the fridge. Okay. So now we've got, and then I'll just chop these last few leaves of parsley. Okay, so I just kind of, some people actually will roll them up. So just like if you're doing with basil, a chiffonade, you could kind of, if you can, you could roll these up into like a cigar shape and chop them this way. That's a really nice way to do it. And that gets you into a really fine size. Okay. Now let me take this and I'm going to put it into a little prep bowl here. And also as I'm chopping, because these vegetables are wet, I'm going to make sure that I keep drying my cutting board surface off. Okay, so there's my parsley. So now we're going to take our container with the dressing and we're going to start putting some things into it. So this is some red onion that I had chopped yesterday because I was using it for something else. And you see I put it into a container with paper towel on the bottom to soak up any excess moisture. So I'm going to not put all of this, I'm just going to put a good portion of this in there. So I don't want it to be too oniony. And then the rest of this I'm going to put back in my fridge. Okay. All right, so I typically put the harder things, so like the onion and the celery in here first. Okay, so now I've got the celery over here. And see, most of it I've already diced up, but I wanted to show you how I work with this. Okay, so here's a piece of celery. Okay, now you could just chop it like this, crosswise, if you want, but I like to kind of cut it into thinner strips. So I'm just going to show you how I do that. So I'm actually going to tip it on its side like this, and I'm going to cut. Whoops, see if I can do it with the knife. I'm going to cut like right here, okay? So I'm going to tip it on its side, so I've rolled it, and then that gives me a thin strip, okay? And then I'll roll it again, and roll it again. Okay, so I cut that one stick into about 5 strips. Now I'll line all these strips up in a bundle, and I'll just cut crosswise. Now I've also found, like, if I need to move my hand back, if I dig my knife slightly into it and then move my hand, the veggies don't seem to move, and they stay, the edge of the knife will stabilize them. You can move it without them like falling all over the place. Okay, here we go. Alrighty. So there's all my celery chopped. Okay, so there's my celery. So that's going to go in here. Now one way you can do this is to just layer things on top. Like if I was going to make the salad for a group of people that I'm going to serve it tonight, and I want to do the prep early in the day, I would just layer things on top of the dressing. I wouldn't pre-mix it. I'd just layer it, and then layer it, like I'd have a big container like this. I'd put the dressing on the bottom, and I'd layer the harder veggies, and then I might even cut up the lettuce and layer on top, but not toss it till I'm ready to serve it. Okay, but this time we're going to do it a little bit differently. Okay, now I've also got, let's see, the celery. It's going to be next. So I have already chopped some of it up. I wanted to show you how I had cut the celery in half. Cucumber. Okay, cut the cucumber in half, and now I'm going to take a spoon and we're going to scrape out the seeds. So this is how you seed a cucumber. Okay, so you just scrape it like that, and I turn around and go the other way. And just like I did with the other veggies, I'm going to roll it on its side so I can get that angle and cut it into relatively thin strips so that I have a relatively fine dice. So it's up to you if you want to have, big chunks or little chunks. I like to have little chunks because I like to have all the different flavors of the veggies in like every bite of salad. So that's what I'm doing. Okay. Scrape that into my bowl. Okay, so now that goes in. Okay, next I've got my tomatoes. Now this is 2 tomatoes that I seeded and chopped. Now I do have a video, a short, where I show you how to core and seed your tomatoes, so you can check that out on my channel. And now we're going to put that in there. And one of the reasons why I'm putting all of this into this container is I don't actually know how much veggies I'm actually going to have here. So a nice tall container like this, I can fit a lot of stuff in here, and then I can mix it up, and then I can figure out whether I'm going to store it in something like this, or I can store it in something like a deli container. Okay, so now next we're going to go on to some peppers. So I have 2 different colors of bell peppers here. I have some orange pepper and some yellow pepper that I've already chopped, but I want to show you how to seed your peppers. Okay, this one's very wet. Let me dry that off. Okay, so what I did was I simply cut it in half. Okay, now you see there's a lot of membrane here, and here's the stem up here. So first thing I'm going to do is take my fingers inside, and I'm going to pop off the top. So I'm just going to rip that off. Okay, and I'm over top of my compost bowl over here. Okay, now you're going to see that there's this membrane here, and there's also, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there's also some seeds in there. So my favorite French chef, Jacques Pepin, this is what he does with the seeds. He opens his hand, or cups his hand like this, and he taps the pepper on there, and the seeds come out, and that, I think that is great. That is really good technique. Okay, so all the seeds are gone, but now this membrane, I'm going to pull whatever I can pull with my fingers, and the rest of it, anything that I don't like, I can just trim off with my knife. Okay, so just to make it easy for me, see, you've got this kind of cup shape here. I'm just going to cut the top of this off. Now, if you're being super frugal, you want to trim that up, but I'm going to let that go. And now I'm just going to tip it again like I did with my other veggies. I'm going to cut this into strips. And then I'll cut it into dice. Now here I'm getting close to a place where there's some membrane there. Okay, so now I'll trim, and then I can kind of take my knife and cut that piece off and put it in my compost bowl. Okay, so now I'm back to cutting my strips. And again, you know, you decide what size dice you want to cut your veggies in. If you like it very chunky, you cut them big. If you like it very more fine, you cut them small. Okay, we're just going to quickly chop through this. Now some pieces didn't quite get cut, so I'm just going to cut the ones that look bigger than I like. I think what I like about this method is that I've got all the work done early in the day. And then, you know, it's just a matter of cutting up the lettuce and tossing it, you know. So we'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. Okay, so I'm just going to scrape that into my bowl. Now, I find that peppers always have a lot of moisture, so right now I can see that my board is all wet. So I'm going to dry that off before I go any further. Okay. So now we're going to put this in here. Okay. So now what I'm kind of seeing is that because I got a good volume of veggies here, I could probably put the rest of that onion in, but we can do that at a later time. Okay, so here's the, now also this was flat leaf parsley. I think that tastes best, so that's going to go in there. Okay, so you can see that I got a really good amount of veggies here. Now, so how am I going to toss this? Okay, carefully. Okay, so I'm going to take a fork and a spoon. I'm going to reach down inside and I'm going to jiggle. Reach down, jiggle. And that will gently bring the stuff on the bottom to the top and start to mix everything together. Okay, so you're starting to see here that the stuff is mixing together and the dressing on the bottom is going to get incorporated into all of this. Now I do have a good amount of veggies here, and I think actually that's too much for this container. So I'm going to put it into a larger container here. I'll put this in the fridge, and then when I'm ready to have salad, I will take tongs and I will chop up my lettuce, greens, whatever I'm having, and I will take the tongs and put it on top, all of this mixture on top, and then I'll retoss. And then of course taste, and if you need to have more salt or pepper, you can add that. But also, you know, if you want to add other things like some Parmesan cheese, you know, or whatever you want to put in your salad, that's fine. Okay, so this is my strategy for pre-prepping your salad. Okay, I'll see you next time. If you are liking the content here on this channel, please do me a favor and subscribe, like, and share with your friends. I will see you soon. Take care.